We know that the way English is taught differs across countries, but what makes teachers choose a particular type of instruction? A multiplicity of factors is responsible, but in this video I want to focus on the selectiveness of a school system and on learners' spare time English. Let's start with the selectiveness of a school system. So in a comprehensive school system, students up to the age of 15 or 16 all in general attend the same school type. And so this is, for instance, the case in countries like Sweden, Norway, or Denmark. And in those countries, grade repetition, so students having to repeat a school year because they didn't pass certain subjects, is also relatively uncommon. On the other hand, in countries like Austria, France, or Italy, the school system is more selective, so that students who perform much weaker than their peers in a given subject are typically separated from them. But now, what does this have to do with the type of instruction in language classrooms? If a school system is selective, then normally within a class or even within a cohort, the proficiency range is more comparable, so that students in general follow a similar learning trajectory, and so that often classes are more teacher-centered and that students focus or work on the same grammatical features at the same time. Now, whether this is good or bad is of course debated. On the other hand, if a school system is non-selective, then within a class there is a greater proficiency range. There is more proficiency diversity, so that it is difficult to focus on the same grammatical features with the entire class, and there needs to be more differentiation. Now let's turn to learners' spare time use of English. Spare time use of English, such as when being on social media, when reading a book, or when watching series on Netflix, has been around for a long time in countries like Sweden, Norway, or the Netherlands. On the other hand, it's a fairly new phenomenon and it's growing in countries like Austria, France, and Spain. But now, if there is a lot of English being used in a student's spare time, then they probably already acquired a bunch of words and structures at home. And this also implies that in the classroom, teachers then don't need to focus as heavily on grammar and on explicit grammar instruction. At the same time, whether and to what extent learners use English in their spare time is very individual. So this can add to classes being highly diverse. And now that brings me back to the selectiveness of a school system. Imagine a country where the school system is non-selective and learners' spare time English is also very high. In such a context, classes in general can be expected to be very diverse in the learner's proficiency, and teachers need to find a way to cater to those different needs, for instance, by teaching grammar incidentally. So what is the ideal type of instruction? How should grammar be taught? It is difficult to conclude what the ideal type of instruction is. But now, if spare time English is increasingly used across Europe, this probably calls for a more incidental approach in teaching, and to an approach that is more based on current student needs. And now, in this sense, systematic grammar teaching may become obsolete.